How does innovation in the workforce play a key role for business development? And so what does a thriving company in the future look like?
I don't think they're trying to do too much at once. I think they've got to do an awful lot at once to catch up.
Okay.
Because the way I see it going forward is the organisation design, so the structure of the company and the shape it takes and what it looks like, as well as the organisation development, so its life cycle is going to become incredibly fast. It's going to have a very different form, or even forms. So quite a few places now have got incubators, which can either be set up as a separate hub or tucked away somewhere, often in a different country.
Building psychological safety. I'm not calling it trust even, so trust for me is what we all should go after in organizations or in our personal relationships. But psychological safety is the enabler. So people will speak up with a cool idea, they will be heard on a cool idea, and they will not be afraid to go into that trial and error mode. One bottleneck is budget, or is resources in general, because you always have budget constraints, you have resource constraints which go back to budget constraints, and you have priority problems. A leader is it's not easy for him to juggle all these priorities. And somebody who looks in the long term, like the 10-year term, will be able to prioritize, for example, on leadership and building trust. But what if the investors then demand, I want a cost cutting, etc. That is one of the big barriers for both innovation journeys and the other kind of journeys we have.
I'm not sure you want to change it. I think the question is how does workforce culture drive shareholder value? Actually, somebody who when I was first a manager, came and asked me if they could work from home one day a week. In the days when it was a dial-up modem and it squeaked and beeped, to make the connection over your telephone line. And in the end, even though my manager wasn't supportive, I let them go ahead and have that arrangement and said, look, if it doesn't work, we'll figure something else out. And that person went on to work for the company for another 20 years. So, that's somebody who possibly could have walked out at that point with the loss of knowledge and career and everything. So I think you have to, in the end, you do have to measure the economic return, but you have to figure out a way that these initiatives and these changes drive increased shareholder value, whether it's around retention of knowledge or people.
An agile workforce will only exist with a strong culture and a common purpose, because otherwise you have everybody going in all directions. So that strong culture and that common purpose is needed to give them that vision, like where they really are going to go towards whatever is good for their customer, for their product, or whatever their mission is.
It's a combination of what you were saying. I think people want very different ways of working. They're looking to their companies and saying, I want to work flexibly, I want to work on different projects, I want to be able to travel with my job, or I just want to work my 42 hours and not get stressed at night.
So a big trend in the last few years as a line manager for me was fathers coming and saying, I would like to work flexibly to look after my children. And the first, which is fantastic, the first time someone came and asked me, which was a few years ago, you almost don't know how to process it. But then, and that was an incredibly brave thing to do, but now increasingly, certainly sort of 30-ish-year-olds are much more doing that than my generation ever did. I went back to